Hello guys, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ifeoluwa. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to draft and cut a perfect bustier with yoke. So I'm going to show you both the front pattern and the back pattern. If this is something you're interested in learning, stick around and watch this video to the end. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you are seeing this video, please do also subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and also feel free to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much guys. Now let's get started. So these are the measurements needed for this tutorial: the bust measurements, the waist, the bust point, the under bust measurements, the across back, which is shoulder to shoulder, the armhole circumference, the front waistline, and the back waistline. So you make sure you measure out the front waistline separately and the back waistline separately in order to get that perfect padded bustier. Now what I'll do first is to take the chest line measurement, which is my armhole divided by 2. So I usually use my armhole divided by 2 for my chest line measurement. Then after marking the chest line measurement, I'll go ahead to mark the bust point. Then I'm going to mark the under bust measurement, and then I'll mark the front waistline measurement. So I'm just going to connect that to the other side using a straight line. So I have this as my shoulder line, then that is my chest line, the bust point, the under bust, and then the front waistline. Now on the shoulder line, I'm going to take my across back, which is the shoulder to shoulder measurement. So I have 14 divided by 2, which is 7 inches. I also do that on the chest line, then I'm going to connect together. From the shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then whatever I have left, I'm going to divide by 2 and I'll mark that point. Now from that point, I'm going to come in by 0.75. On the chest line, I'm going to take my chest line measurements divided by 4. So I have 34 divided by 4, which is 8.5 inches. Then I'm going to mark that point, and then I'll draw out my armhole using those 3 points that I have there. Now I'm going to take my neckline measurement. So I'm going to be using 3.5 inches for the neck width, and I'll also use 3.5 inches for the neck depth. So I'll go ahead to connect that with my curve, and then I'll also connect my shoulder slant together. Now I'll label this side as my center front. So this is the center of the bustier, and this is the side front, that is the side of the bustier. Now on the chest line, I'm going to take the nipple to nipple measurements. So that is the bust span. So in case you don't have the measurements ready, you can just use the bust measurement divided by 4 minus 1.5 inches divided by 2. So that is the way you can easily get your bust span if you don't have the measurements ready. So towards the center front, I'm going to come in by 0.5, and towards the side front, I'll go out by 1.5 inches. So I'll do the same thing on the under bust, and then I'll connect together. Now after connecting that together with a straight line, I'm going to take my curve and use it to connect from the under bust to the bust point, so on both sides. So I already have my bust measurements here on the chest line. I'll go ahead to measure out my waist on the waistline. So my waist divided by 4, I'm going to mark it there. Then whatever I have there, I'm going to replace it on the waist. So I have about 2 inches, and then I replaced it there, and I'm going to connect from the chest line down to the waistline. Now because of my front waistline, the difference between my front waistline and the back waistline, I would have to mark that there at the bust points. So at the side front there on the bust point, I'll mark the 2 inches. That is the difference between the front and the back waistline. So that is 17 minus 15 inches, and I'll connect it into the bust point. So this varies for a lot of people. Some people might not even have any difference, and some people might have more than 2 inches difference. So you just have to measure it out. Now I'm going to take the neckline measurements for the yoke. So I'm going to be using the 7 inches. I'm going to make it on the chest line. Then on the armhole area, I'm going to be using 6 inches for the neckline. So for this part, you can decide to use whatever shape you want. You can use a sweetheart neckline. You can make it like a V shape, that is slanted, or you can even make it straight. You can make it a cano, like a curved shape. So it depends on the kind of shape you want, but for this tutorial I'm going to be using a sweetheart neckline. Now I'm going to create a dart on the neckline area at the yoke so as to prevent gaping and to make it more tight, to make the yoke tight. Now on the shoulder slant, I'm going to divide whatever I have there by 2, and then I'm going to mark it out. So after doing that, I'm going to connect from that point into the bust point. Now what I want to do here, that is the tightening of the yoke area, is just to make the bustier more fitted. So I'm going to be taking 0.5 inches on both sides. So altogether I have 1 inch. Then I'm going to connect it back into the bust point. So using this method, your bustier is going to stick well to your body and the yoke area is going to lay really well. Now I have 1 inch all together, so that 1 inch there I have to replace it there because of the yoke. So by the time we fold this in together, you see that you have to replace that 1 inch so that the yoke is going to be fitted on it. So by the time I'm cutting this, I'm going to show you the importance of replacing it. So I'm just going to extend that neckline there, then I'm going to add the 1 inch to it. Now after adding that, I would have to draw out a new armhole. So what I have there, I'm going to replace it on the chest line. Whatever I have there, I'll be replacing it on the chest line also. So I have about 0.75. I'll replace it there, then I'm going to draw out a new armhole using the new points that I have. So after doing that, I'm going to connect a new line from the chest line down to the waistline. So now you have all the measurements accurately ready, and then you can proceed to cut out whatever you have on your pattern paper. So while I'm cutting out, I'll still have to fold this part in. I'm going to show you everything as I'm cutting. So these are the parts that I will not need anymore in this pattern paper. These are the parts I will be cutting out of the pattern paper. So what I'm doing here is just to blend the curve in. I don't want that part to be too sharp, so I'm just going to blend it in like that. Now I'm going to go ahead to cut out what I have. Now for this side that we have to cover it up. So I'm just going to cut to that part and stop a little bit before the bust point, and also come to the side, cut that part and stop a little bit before the bust point. Now I'm going to use my masking tape to just cover that together. So you cover up to the point of the dart that we took. That is the 2 inches for that dart, or whatever inches that you took for yours. Then I'm going to cover that up, and then I'll connect a new line from the chest line to the waistline because the lines won't be equal anymore. So after doing that, I'll go ahead to cut out the rest. Now for this part that I tightened, by the time I fold it in, you see that it won't be equal anymore at the neckline area. So you can see that gap that we have there. By the time you cut it out without replacing this, you will see that your fabric won't have equal neckline. So you have to start trimming off. So what you just have to do here is just to make sure you replace whatever is lost there. So I'm just going to put a new pattern paper, any piece of pattern paper that you have. I'm going to just tape that, and then I'll draw out a new neckline. So this is the new neckline, and then I'll proceed to cut out what I have. So don't forget to also cut out the darts away from that part. So guys, this is what I have, and then by the time you put them together, you see that they will come out equal. So this is what I was saying about the addition of an extra 1 inch there. So you can see that they are equal, and by the time you are done sewing, by the time you want to fix the yoke to the main bustier, it will stay well, it will be equal. You won't have to be trimming or adding anything else to it. So this is the front pattern now ready. Now let's move on to the back pattern. So for the back pattern, the first thing I'm going to do is to bring out my zip allowance. So I'll be using 1 inch for the zip allowance, and I'm going to connect that together. Now like the front pattern, I'm going to measure out my chest line, so which is my armhole divided by 2. Then I'll measure out the back waistline. So don't forget that the back waistline for this particular person is different from the front waistline. So I have 15 inches for the front waistline, for the back waistline, then 17 inches for the front waistline, and I'm going to connect that to the other side. So I have this as the shoulder line, the chest line, and then the back waistline. I'm also going to label this line as the center back, so that is the center back line. Now on the shoulder line, I'm going to be measuring out my across back, so you make sure that you're measuring from the center back line. So, and I'm going to connect that from the shoulder line to the chest line. Then to create the armhole, I'll come down by 1 inch on the shoulder line, and whatever I have left, I'll divide by 2, then mark 0.5 inches inwards. On the chest line, I'll take the bust measurement divided by 4. So you make sure you're marking from the center back, and then I'm going to connect those 3 points together. Now I'm going to measure out my neckline. So I'm going to be using the same neck width that I used for the front, and then for the neck depth, I'm going to be using 1 inch for the back because I want it to be high. Then I'm going to connect that and also connect the shoulder slants. Now on the waistline there, from the center back line, I'm going to be coming in by 1 inch, then I'll connect that to the chest line. So that is going to be the new zip allowance. Now from the new point of the zip allowance, I'm going to measure out my waist measurement divided by 4, and if you want to add that, you add 1 more inch to it. So I have 7.25 altogether. Then I'm going to connect from the chest line to the waistline. On the center back line there, I'm going to take my dart measurements. So I'm going to be using the same measurements at the front, which is the nipple to nipple measurements. I'm going to use the same thing on the chest line, on the waistline. And I'll be taking 0.5 inches on both sides for the dart. So altogether I have 1 inch. Then I'm going to connect that together. For the back yoke, I'm going to be using a length of 6 inches for the neckline at the back. Then for the armhole, I'll be using the same 6 inches I used at the front, so that it's going to rhyme together. So I'm going to use 6 inches there. Then I'm going to connect a straight line. For this back too, you can decide to use whatever shape you want for the back yoke. Now if you want your back yoke to have a little keyhole, this is what you're just going to do. So from the neckline at the top down to the neckline for the yoke that is at the bottom, you just connect a little curve there, so that way it is going to have that small keyhole at the back. So this is it for the back pattern, and then I'm going to go ahead to cut out what I have. So for the back yoke, this is what you're going to have. So you won't have any zip allowance again at the back, so you're just going to be having that keyhole there, and then the zip is going to start from the bottom of the yoke. So guys, this is it for the back pattern of the yoke, and then you can see them together, the front pattern and the back pattern. This is it after cutting out on my fabric. So I already cut out both main fabric and the lining for this, and then that is the yoke. In my next video, my next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to sew this from the beginning to the end, how to properly pad it, and how to join the yoke looking neat, how to make the yoke look very neat after joining. So I'm going to show you everything in my next video. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do well to subscribe so that you can see the next video, and then you can put on your notification bell. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye.